Hello, everybody. It's Wednesday, and today, the last few days, we've been looking at Ruth. And I want to read to you a little longer portion than I usually read today because it kind of fills in what's happening with Ruth. Up until this point, remember she was in Moab with her mother-in-law who's Jewish, and she, in chapter 1, says that famous saying, where you go, I go, your God will be my God. I'm going to stay with you, Ruth says to her mother-in-law. And so this is what happens next. They don't have a lot of money, so they're gleaning in a field, which was pretty common. You could follow behind the harvesters, and whatever they missed, you could pick up and take home. So that's what she's doing, which shows they don't have a whole lot of money. And so here's what happens. Now, there was a wealthy and influential man in Bethlehem, that's where they are, the city where Jesus was born, named Boaz, who was a relative of Naomi's husband Elimelech. One day, Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, "Let me go out and harvest fields and pick up the stalks of grain left behind by anyone who is kind enough to let me do it." Naomi replied, "All right, my daughter, go ahead." So Ruth went out to gather grain behind the harvesters. And as it happened, she found herself working in a field that belonged to Boaz, the relative of her father-in-law, Elimelech. So this is a relative of Elimelech, who is Naomi's husband who died. And so it's a relative. And you'll find later in this that he has a responsibility to, as the oldest male in this family, to sort of take care of Ruth and Naomi. While she was there, Boaz arrived from Bethlehem and greeted the harvesters. The Lord be with you," he said. "The Lord bless you," the harvesters replied. Then Boaz asked his foreman, "Who is that young woman over there? Who does she belong to?" And the foreman replied, "She is the young woman from Moab who came back with Naomi. She asked me this morning if she could gather grain behind the harvesters. She has been hard at work ever since, except for a few minutes of rest in the shelter." I love those little details. Boaz went over and said to Ruth, "Listen, my daughter, stay right here with us. When you gather grain, don't go into the other fields. Stay right behind the young men working in my field. See which part of the field they are harvesting, and then follow them. I have warned the young men not to treat you roughly, and when you are thirsty, help yourself to the water that they have drawn from the well." Ruth fell at his feet and thanked him warmly. You can see how desperate she is, and both she and Naomi. She fell at his feet and thanked him warmly. "What have I done to deserve such kindness?" she asked. "I am only a foreigner." "Yes, I know," Boaz replied, "but I also know that everything you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband. I have heard how you left your father and mother and your own land and lived here among complete strangers. May the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge, reward you fully for what you have done." Now there's an interesting passage. You have, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. Isaiah picks up that same theme. And also Jesus uses that same theme in Luke chapter 13, starting at verse 31. At that time, some Pharisees said to him, "Get away from here, if you want to live. Herod Antipas wants to kill you." Jesus replied, "Go tell that fox that I will keep on casting out demons and healing people today and tomorrow. And on the third day, I will accomplish my purpose. Yes, today, tomorrow, and the next day, I must proceed on my way, for it wouldn't do for a prophet of God to be killed except in Jerusalem." And then now he's going to reminisce about Jerusalem. "Jerusalem, oh Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones God's messengers. How often I have wanted to gather your children together as a hen protects her chicks beneath her wings, but you wouldn't let me. And now look, your house is abandoned. And you will never see me again until you say, blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. I've read this before for you. But this whole idea of gathering, God wants to gather us, protect us as a hen, kind of puts out its wings and protects its children, its chicks. That's what God wants to do for us. And Jesus says to Jerusalem, that's what God's wanted to do the whole time, but you wouldn't let him. Well, today let's think about that. And say to God, I know I've resisted, wanting to let you take over my life, wanting to let you protect me. Give up this sense that I am somehow independent, or the biggest deal is, we have our personal freedom. That's something to kind of, that's a really great thing. What we do with our freedom is we use it to sin. So God's not real impressed with your freedom. But here's the thing. God wants to take you under his wing. He wants to protect you. He wants to provide for you. And don't be like Jerusalem that says, and you would not. But instead, open your life, every part of your life, to God, and ask God to take over those parts and trust him with your whole life. If there's something in your life right now that you're not letting God have, if you're something you're trying to go on your own, alone, and not trust God, let go of that and come under the shelter of God's wings. Look for his protection, but also look for his strength and his ability to change your heart. He wanted to so many times for our lives, but we would not, just like Jerusalem. So let's get rid of the but we would not and say, Lord, take me under your wings and shelter me this day and every day of my life. God bless, and have a great Wednesday. Take care.